Yo, what's up, guys? The Insane Game Freak here. As much as I want to sit down and relax and let you guys enjoy the wonderful discussion video I put up, new Sonic game, therefore I had to talk about it, but unfortunately, due to, the video game copyright thing, I'm not going to bother trying to put in trailers or clips because that's how you get in trouble and you get taken down, and I'm not in the mood for that kind of shit. Just move on. So we're gonna talk about Sonic Boom, the video game, the television show, and the new designs for the characters, which I'll probably have as the thumbnail for this video. So I guess the first thing we should start with is probably the character designs. I don't have a problem with them for the most part, except for the one that most people are probably having a problem with because it just should look it's the most radical change, and it's the one that kind of be like, I don't know how I feel about this, which is the whole Knuckles situation. Now, from a logistical standpoint, it always made sense. It makes the idea behind his new design makes sense. It's like Knuckles is always been that quote unquote hardcore fighter character, meaning he's the one who should be technically the physically strongest. So obviously, he has giant knuckles in all of his other iterations, but he doesn't necessarily look like he's physically strong. He just has giant fucking knuckles. This iteration of Knuckles is just supposed to make him look bulkier. And honestly, I don't have a problem with that. It's just I don't know what it is. Maybe it's I need to see him animated, like really animated, like cartoon animated, not the game animated, which we'll get into the game in a second. But it just, I feel like he looks either too bulky or something. Like he looks too damn tall. I think that's what's hurting him. If he was the same size as Sonic and is bulk and like had like the same general sense of bulk, it wouldn't bother me as much. But he's tall. He's the tallest character now, and he's bulked up. Also, a side note for those who are freaking the fuck out, this is not like the new series direction. This is a spinoff, from what I understand, at least from what I've been reading on Sega blogs and other websites. All this is a spinoff series. This is, to me, this is on the same caliber, well, probably a bigger caliber than that, but it would be around the same feel as like the storybook series for the Wii. It's like that, except it just has a game and a cartoon based around it. So don't treat this as like the new Sonic, because it wouldn't make sense for them to introduce a new gameplay style in Sonic Lost World and then completely switch that out for this. Also, a side note is for those who may not know, Sonic Boom, the game anyway, was has been in development for 2 years. So this has been a plan for the last since 2000, at the very least 2012, maybe late 2011. Depends on really when the development really started. As far as the rest of the designs, I like Amy's new design. She doesn't seem like she's trapped in the 50s anymore. I think that was the worst part about Amy's design, is that it felt really, really old school. Uh, Tails and Sonic don't look that much different, except for, as a lot of people have mentioned, for some reason they've now colored his arms blue instead of him being flesh colored, which I really wouldn't have a problem with until you realize why in the fuck is Amy's arm still flesh colored? Because now it just seems inconsistent. I'm like, Tails has yellow fur, Knuckles has red fur, Sonic now has his blue fur. So why the fuck isn't Amy rocking her pink fur now? You still have her rocking flesh colored shit, which honestly, it's not that big of a deal. It just seems inconsistent if anything else. Um, I guess the only other nitpick is the bandages. Now, do I think it's as ridiculous as people have been saying? Oh my god, they have bandages. They have too many bandages. I don't mind the bandages for Knuckles. Knuckles, it makes the most sense. Sonic, I'm not really that aggravated. And Amy and Tails don't seem to have it too much, if at all. The one part of it that annoys me is that for some reason Sonic has it at the bottom of his shoes. Why in the fuck would you need like wrapping, I don't even know what I just called it a second ago, like wrapping paper, whatever the fuck, under your shoes? I can understand it on your legs and your hands and arms. Why is the sports tape on your shoes? I think Tails has it on his shoes too, from the picture I'm looking at. Why? Why? I don't see the point of that. Just what the fuck. Um, So I guess the next, so in terms of the looks, I'm perfectly fine for what, I'm fine with it for the most part. I'll say that. Like there are some things that kind of go with me, but overall, I'm not really angry at what we have here. So I guess the next thing I'm going to address is the cartoon. Yeah, I know. What you gonna do? I'll address the cartoon next. Shut up. Okay, so the cartoon, from what I've read on the Sega blog, it's supposed to be 52 episodes of 11 minutes shorts, meaning essentially it's 26 episodes, with like each episode split up into two sections. Which personally, I don't know why. I kind of wish it wasn't, because the for those who don't know, they've actually uploaded a clip showing off what the game, I mean, what the cartoon looks like. You saw a clip. We actually get to see Eggman's design in this, which I guess is another design I'll talk about real quick. Is that he's kind of like Knuckles. He's kind of gotten bulked up. Like they took his fat and they made it like bulk. So he has like wider shoulders and it's more like a triangle shape, kind of like how Knuckles' body is shaped now. His mustache is shorter. I don't. He just seems like a more. He seems kind of like a mini Hulk in a sense now. Like the way he looks is like mini Hulkish. But from the clip we saw, I'm not really. I think the animation style works for it. I hope it improves over the episodes, because it's not like the clip was like horrible. It's just more so. I hope it gets extended more than that. Like it seems okay for what it is, but I just hope as the episodes progress, we get better animation, or at least slight changes. But it's nothing in terms of the style itself. I don't have a problem with. I like the general animation in itself is fine, but I really look forward to seeing it improve over time. Um, I actually think to me this might be the better iteration of the Sonic cartoon, because Sat AM is obviously dated in so many fucking ways. Sonic X was more of a anime representation of Sonic than the Western representation, which is funny because ironically, they even mentioned this in an interview that this isn't coming out in Japan. Like they're not getting Sonic Boom, they're not even getting the game. This is like they made this specifically for us, the Westerners, the people in the US, Canada, maybe Europe and stuff like that. Um which makes sense considering how this show looks. Like this looks more westernized, like in terms of its look and style. And I actually think this might be better than Sonic X, depending on how they do it. Considering Sonic X took most of its story arcs based around the games, and as we've learned through time, the games haven't this game stories haven't aged particularly well. Plus, they mix in the human element, which honestly, at this point, I'm so glad they're doing away with that shit. So this looks like just straight up Eggman, Sonic, new area with Tails, Knuckles, and Amy fighting robots, fighting his robot or sizer shit. This has an interesting premise, and I don't have anything against the cartoon. Designs overall are okay. I'm cool with this for the most part. Now we get into the game. Now the game is obviously radically different, and part of the reason is because it's not done by Sonic Team. I believe the name of the people who are doing this is, I want to say Red Button Studios, but let me double check before I say anything. I want to double check because I'm pretty sure it's Red Button Studios, and I know there are some fairly famous people there. Like I think the head of that development studio worked on the Ratchet and Clank games, and he worked in Naughty Dog, and he worked, I think, on some of the Sly Cooper games too. Uh, so I believe he has a pretty prestigious. I'm not gonna say. Yeah, it's big. It's Big Red Button. That's the name of the development team. And looking at the just the look of the game and everything, It's more open worldy. It also apparently we've learned that it's gonna be co-op. Like it's like local co-op, and you have to have two characters on the screen at once. Like even if you're playing single player, you're gonna have another character with you. It just probably be AI controlled, which we'll see how that goes because it's fucking AI controlled. But based on the trailer looks interesting to say the least. This also apparently is gonna be a game that's showing off the graphics, like the Unreal or Engine 3. I think is being used for the graphics for this game, which is cool for me. Um, And the only thing I will say is that the new designs don't translate well into games, and maybe it's because this game isn't finished yet. But the fucking models for the game, like there are these scenes where you see Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy back to back and shit. They look so fucking tall. I think like Sonic has his legs stretched out, like you know how he's like in a crouching position. His legs look like they form a fucking rectangle, like connected to the ground, and I'm like, that's a bit much. Like that, I don't. The models don't look inherently amazing for the characters. The environments look cool, and I'm interested to see where it goes. And considering the game is supposed to be a prequel to the TV show, this will serve to be interesting. And this apparently is the third game in the whole Nintendo Sega Sonic exclusive deal thing. This game has 2 years of work behind it, so I don't think it's a piece of. I don't think this game has a lot of promise behind it. Now, granted, it's not the style of Sonic game I've inherently grown used to, but I did like Secret Rings for what it was, and I did like Black Knight for what it was. And I have nothing against spinoffs, so I'll probably pick this up. Apparently, I think this is coming out this year. I'm not sure. I believe it is though. So for all intents and purposes, I'm willing to give this a shot. The game looks more open worldy, and a lot of people have said it has a lot of like Ratchet and Clank vibes coming from, which I can see. Even me being a person who hasn't played Ratchet and Clank, I can look at Ratchet and Clank and look at this and go, yeah, that's some major inspiration. Also, a lot of people think because that whole Nathan Drake thing, that is one of the reasons why Sonic is rocking a scarf now, which I heard people have a problem with is a fucking scarf. Like, I like how the designs for these characters aren't even that different. It's not. I think Knuckles is the most offensive, and everyone else was freaking. I saw people freaking out. I was like, "Oh my god, they gave Sonic a scarf. Oh my god, he's too tall." Now, I will say Knuckles seems way too fucking tall. Sonic kind of seems too tall, but the game makes it a lot more annoyingly obvious than the cartoon did. But they do seem a little bit too tall for my taste. I think it's because they look a little too lanky at the bottom, and like for Knuckles, it's like a annoying contrast. He has like these long legs and then fucking bulked up at the top, so he looks like if he leaned too far to one side, he just fucking tip over because his top is so heavier than his bottom. I don't fucking know. I feel like if they just kind of condense Knuckles a little bit, he can have like a general body shape that's similar. Just kind of condense him a little bit so he doesn't look as weird. And I will agree, he does look like they made like a new like upper body for him, and they just like cut off his head from his original design and just popped it on that. Like even looking at pictures, it kind of looks like that. I can't not unsee it now. Just uh um, as far as the game though in itself and everything. The game, at the very least, has me interested, but I do want to see more of it before I really like. I need to see gameplay, if anything, and I mean like actual people playing the game gameplay. It looks like they all have their abilities. Knuckles can still climb. He's the strongest. Tails apparently, instead of giving him tail attacks, which I think works. I think tail attacks work in terms of his old school design, but I feel like for newer games to have him run up to an enemy and just hit them with his tails is a little dangerous. So I like the fact that they just gave him like laser guns, like tech weapons to shoot, which is cool for me. I mean, he can still fly and everything. And Amy is the acrobatic one, like the one who is more agile with anything, which is kind of funny considering you're comparing her to Sonic. It's like she's more agile than Sonic, but whatever. Um, I'm just more curious about how the characters are gonna act and interact with each other and the whole setup for the game and the cartoon. But overall, I'm looking forward to this. Like as a general thing, it's not. It's one of those things like when you first see it, you're gonna go and it's like but like as you sit down and look at it more and analyze it more, you become more and more used to it. So it doesn't really bother you as much, and that's how I've kind of gone through this process from the day. Like I think I saw this shit around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's like midnight right now. In the course of about 10 hours? Yeah, about 10 hours. I've gone through the process of going like to kind of like okay, I can see. As I see more of the game, my opinions will become more solid and definite right now. But for right now, from what I see, looks pretty good. Obviously, we have some alpha footage of the game, so I'm assuming the game will look better as time progresses. And the cartoon I probably will be definitely watching and probably giving first impressions on. So that's a thing. But please tell me your thoughts and comments on everything in terms of the designs of the characters, the cartoon clip, the game trailer, Wii U exclusive, Wii U and 3DS exclusive, blah, everything. And yeah, this is not a reboot. This is more just a side story. I guess this is for a different type of fans because Lost World has too much hidden potential in there for them just to be like, we're gonna make a game and then say fuck it in 3 months. So as I said, not part of the main series. I believe it's a spinoff. Correct me if I'm wrong. And even if it is a reboot, it's not that fucking bad in its own right anyway. But let me what you guys think tell me what you guys think in the description. Comments. Oh my god, I'm tired. Anyways, this has been the Insane Game Freak. Life's a game. Play to win. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace. That didn't even sound like peace, though. Peace.